what they find is that their windshield or their window is smashed in, and on the inside they see a large rock. A lot of these reports say that this is the tool that was used to create all of that damage. Students were using their hands instead of their voices tonight, drawing out these messages along Chancellor's Walk in hopes of inspiring change. And what you can see behind me is where that tornado touched down, or what they believe to have been a tornado. I'm going to walk behind the camera so I can give you a really good look at the damage that we're seeing here, but we know one house is at this location, and so far crews on scene are telling me that no injuries have been reported, but you see there are some animals at this house. You're going to see these boats in the water. They're going to continue to patrol these waters along the Brunswick County beaches. William Hewitt walked right out of the front door of the Brunswick County Detention Center, making it through layers of security to escape. And if it wasn't for the desk clerk that's sitting just right inside, he wouldn't have even been noticed. But he was noticed, and he made it through this parking lot, running across to the woods here. Here in Hampstead, we're seeing about a ½ inch of some fluffy white snow out here, really only hitting the exposed grassy areas in parts of Pender County. If we walk around this way, though, what you're going to see is that the roadways are clear, and that's the most important thing as you're heading out the door this morning. Just to give you an idea of how much rain we were seeing earlier, this is my rain boot. I haven't taken it off, I haven't dumped it out since earlier, and this is how much water is in it right now. Some of those areas were still smoldering, and behind us we've been keeping an eye on this area just behind Heirloom Drive. We've seen a few areas flare up again, but officials say you don't need to be too concerned right now because those flames are still contained within the fire lines that the Forestry Service was able to draw around this 500-acre burn area in Brunswick County. We know at least 3 homes were damaged, including this one here off of Heirloom Drive. The vinyl siding just melted off by the heat. The next steps now are figuring out what caused this fire. Situation that could have turned out a lot worse.
There weren't any huge problems. You know, they didn't throw us some real big curveballs like it could have. I mean, if it had come up to the housing development, 30 minutes earlier, then yeah, it would have been ugly.
That's how officials are describing a fire that swept through 500 acres of woods in Leland.
They were hitting hot spots and where there was, right near the houses and whatnot, they can get pinpoint accurate.
Helicopters worked from above as tractors dug out fire lines to contain the flames.
Aircraft can slow a fire down, but until you get lines on it, that's what's going to put the fire out.
Even before officials called for evacuations off Butler Road, some families were already preparing for the worst.
It's more important to get the family and the pets, get all them out of the house, and that's all we were thinking.
Evacuations have since been lifted, families returning to their homes tonight, some of them finding damage left behind by the blaze. The Forestry Service will stay on scene watching for hot spots and trying to figure out just what sparked these flames.
We've removed all of the organic material, the grasses, the leaves that can burn and carry a fire.
Not only working against the fire, but battling the wind as well.
With the wind changing direction so much, it kept pushing the fire in different directions, so it kept shifting. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but this is fire season and that's what we're used to.
While the threat's now over with the fire contained, officials are sending out a warning to residents to be cautious this fire season.
In with the green grass, there's still a lot of dry brown grass from the winter, and unfortunately that's what's going to carry your fire. So if you are going to burn, we'd ask you to be cautious, have a garden hose out there, and stay with it while you're burning.
And John and Fran, the smell of smoke is still very apparent here in Brunswick County at this hour. Even though the fire is contained, officials with the Forestry Service say they will have somebody on hand throughout the night to just make sure there's a presence here. An hours-long manhunt ended right here in this thickly wooded area in Bladen County, just off of Highway 210. Officers were able to catch James King after 7:30 tonight. Helicopters searched from above, while bloodhounds tracked King's steps.
We'll stay here until we resolve everything.
You just step out.
It was almost 6 hours later before the Bladen County Sheriff's Office had James King in cuffs, bare feet and all, wanted for more than 20 break-ins in the Bladen County area.
People are tired of this kind of thing going on.
Do you have anything to say for yourself?
He had taken off from authorities after they found his car stranded behind Haw Bluff Church.
Satisfaction that we had caught someone who's been terrorizing this neighborhood.
A neighborhood that many residents say doesn't see this kind of action very often.
It's usually so quiet you can hear a pin drop here, and here come the choppers.
But relieved to know a man known for breaking in doors and windows is now in custody.
We are very, very subject to breaking and enterings and nobody ever seeing anything, even with burglar alarms, you know. So we appreciate that.
And the sheriff in Bladen County says this entire operation has been a cooperation of agencies from across our area, and that tonight this community is relieved that this man will be behind bars. In Bladen County, Kaitlin Stansell, WECT News. Well, Fran, while we still have not heard from the corporate office of Pacifica Senior Living about that inspection report, their mission statement online says that they are committed to accountability, integrity, and the life enrichment of their residents. But one family we spoke to tonight says this facility doesn't live up to the quality of care they sell.
She has Alzheimer's, she's 94, sweet as she can be, and did not deserve this.
Michael Calder says his mother was seriously injured during an unexplained fall at Pacifica Senior Living.
It was a difficult decision to put your mother in a nursing home to start with.
But an easy decision to pull her out of the facility after a broken arm, severe bruising, and an injured hand.
It's a sad situation up there, and I hate it for those people that are still there, right there.
Complaining not just to county and state officials, but working with detectives now at the Wilmington Police Department to pursue criminal negligence charges against Pacifica Senior Living.
Obviously, there are some problems. There are some problems. And the ones that are paying for it are the residents up there.
Those problems listed out in a recent inspection report.
And that's when it becomes, you know, clear to you. That place is worse than you ever thought.
Detailing violation after violation, including a resident waiting hours for help as she lay soaked in her own urine.
Somebody should be held accountable for that, and it should be Pacifica.
But it was his mother's most recent fall that drew the line for Calder.
You can't put it in words. It's heartbreaking. I don't wish it on anybody.
He says he's glad to finally see the report going public and hoping something will now be done to correct the issues at the facility.
They need to clean house and start over, or they need to close it down.
And he's not the only one. Many of you have commented on this story on Facebook from last night detailing similar concerns, and we have reached out to the corporate office for Pacifica but still have not heard back at this time. Live in Wilmington, Kaitlin Stansell, WECT News. Well, John and Fran, while the crowd is much smaller tonight, the signs and flags still remain. The celebration moving inside Costello's Piano Bar here. But after the party ends tonight, the message is that the fight still continues past the decision to allow same-sex marriage in all 50 states. Dozens packed Princess Street. Their message loud and clear.
I think a lot of things won today. Love, respect, dignity, the law, the Constitution.
Equal rights for all.
I'd say that this is all about being recognized as normal human beings.
A battle many have been fighting years to win.
It's pretty monumental. So that, you know, everything that I think that I was fighting for in my time wasn't for nothing.
Sharing hugs and handshakes.
Today means the end of decades of hurt and anguish and hope.
Strangers congratulate each other of the opportunity to love.
I just think it's a breath of fresh air that we're starting on all fronts to begin the process of justice.
Not only for the rights of individuals, but families.
These are our grandchildren, and they need to know that our family is a good family and an okay family and a well-respected family, and we have the right to be, and so do they.
While the mood is joyous tonight, many say the fight continues.
To go to work and not have to worry that I'm not going to get the promotion because of who I love, or I'm not going to get the job that I interview for next week because of my own personal home life, you know, to not have to worry about that, I think is the next step for us.
Now, after that Supreme Court decision, we saw a lot of hashtags on Facebook, or a lot of posts on Facebook using the hashtag #LoveWins. And there were a lot of signs out here today with those very same sentiments. But despite this message of love that they are sending, they say it's still a long road ahead in the fight for equal rights. Live in downtown Wilmington tonight, Kaitlin Stansell, WECT News. Good morning, Bob and Kim. A brewery boom is happening here on the streets of the port city, with a number of businesses opening their doors in just the past year and more expected in the months to come. But these brewing businesses are all about science and getting the right ingredients for the perfect pour.
It's a great time to be a craft beer lover.
Business is booming, with craft beer pouring through the port city, much like the Cape Fear River.
Get that kind of twinkle in your eye, and you hope that you can turn your hobby into a career.
Local brewers say they're living the dream, helping build what has become an industry in Wilmington.
You know, people really enjoy a lot more flavor these days. They're not drinking just, watered down beer at the beach anymore. There's a wide range of flavors now in beer.
From the simple to the unique.
This is Binford's Oyster Stout out of Lancaster, South Carolina. For the general population that aren't quite familiar with the craft beer, they might think this is a little off the wall of brewing a beer with oysters.
Brewers are working on that perfect pour that'll turn consumers in Wilmington away from the Budweisers of the world to something a little more homegrown.
But as far as small businesses, you can't get any smaller than having a brewer and his wife spending 80 hours a week putting their hard-earned dollars and their efforts into creating a product that their customers who are local living down the block can appreciate. That's about as local as you can get.
You're talking about making the best beer you can, not just making beer to sell it, but making beer that you like and that you enjoy.
But building these brews,
extracting the sugars out of grain and then fermenting that sugar water into alcohol. That's the simplistic way.
Hasn't come without its challenges. City leaders had to look at policies and change them to help brewers like Barry Owings at Broomtail open their doors.
We played our small part in that, but we're glad to support that type of industry and that small business owner that is doing that kind of business here in our community.
Brewers have also had to educate consumers about how to drink their products.
Some of the ones I've shown you are, 8, 9, 10 plus ABV, and no, you don't want to drink a 6-pack of those. If you do, it's going to be an interesting evening for yourself.
Cheers! And teach their taste buds to appreciate the craft.
It's definitely an acquired taste. When people taste it, in many cases, they're gonna like it even if it overpowers their palate the first time they taste it.
But the work they put in is paid off, with breweries not just popping up here in Wilmington, but across New Hanover County and other parts of southeastern North Carolina. And really, it's the entire Tar Heel state that's cashing in on the craft beer scene right now. Beer bloggers writing about North Carolina as one of the up-and-coming locations for craft beer lovers, and Asheville really taking the title for Beer City USA. But many would argue that Wilmington is well on its way to becoming the new capital for craft beer here in our state. Live in downtown Wilmington this morning, Kaitlin Stansell for Carolina in the Morning.